Warning.
You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio. 7 Mile Radio.
What is going on, people? We are live once again. I told you all it was going to be a busy week here in the studio as we prepare for the Podathon 22, the podcast marathon that we are doing on September the 24th at Save Play Detroit Center on 7 Mile and Van Dyke. Don't quote me on the address. Y'all know I know the address, but I don't know it by heart. But if you just Google the location on 7 and Van Dyke, the Save Detroit Play Center. A lot of y'all know the very popular football field. Matthew Stafford put a couple of dollars into the football field. So where the Matthew Stafford football field is here on 7 Mile and Van Dyke, that's the recreation center that we're going to be holding the event at. We're going to be doing a live podcast marathon, 7 hours from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's all day just about. I know it's all day, but it's going to be a good day. We're going to have some vendors, plenty of vendors out there, have some entertainment. We're going to be giving away school supplies and school uniforms. I have over 300 school uniforms to give away. You heard it here first. So that's just the uniforms, not even talking about the school supplies and the book bag. So without any further ado, I do have one of our vendors and one of my very good business partners has been with me for a long time now. Been educating me on the whole business game and just how to have your business in order. You know what I mean? The big difference between a non-profit and an LLC. She's just been educating me on a lot of different things in regards to having your business structure in order. So I just want to give a welcome to my sister, Orletta Caldwell from Beyond Existing Enterprises. How are you doing, sister?
I'm doing wonderful.
So, yeah, you have been, a staple in just educating me in a lot of different things in the ins and outs of business, man. And I've been kind of regurgitating some things that you say to other people. They're like, oh, you know what you're talking about. I'm like, no, I don't. I just said what Orletta told me. I just know I know somebody that's smart, and she told me what I need to know, and that's what it is. So let us know a little bit about what Beyond Existing Enterprises is as a whole, because you offer a lot of different information and services. So let us know what it is that you do, sister.
Okay, well, zero on in. I work with nonprofit organizations or people who want to start a nonprofit organization. Beyond Existing started because I know that the nonprofit industry is insane, and it's a whole different animal than running a business. But we can talk about LLCs as well.
Right.
And I was born and raised in Detroit, and I was living in Colorado when they made a lot of changes to the nonprofit laws. And I remember they made some big changes back in about 2006. And I remember thinking, my community doesn't know this is going on. So I started Beyond Existing because I wanted to make sure. I know there's a lot of people out there who want a better community like yourself. You and I have been in the game for a while.
Right.
And the thing that holds us back, especially as black folks, we never have our paperwork straight. So that was my biggest goal, is that if you want to start a nonprofit or you're running a nonprofit, I'd say that I want to help you launch it, grow it, and optimize it.
So what were some of you spoke on you being knowledgeable about some of the changes that were going on with it. What were some of the changes that you felt like needed to be known about, like I guess on the good side and the bad side, if there was? What are some of the changes that happened?
Well, back then, I don't know if you remember Sarbanes-Oxley. They changed the rules. It used to be like you have to file what we call a 990. That's the nonprofit tax form. Back in the day, if you were like at $25,000, you didn't have to file that form with the IRS. Well, nowadays, no matter how much you have in revenue, if it's zero, but you have a 501c3 in your nonprofit organization, you have to file what they call the 990N. It's a postcard, it's online. If you didn't file that form 3 years in a row, they would take away your tax exemption status. So when it happened, 10,000 organizations lost their tax exemption status. As well, in the nonprofit on the state level, when you incorporate it, if you don't file that $20 permit form in October and you don't do it for 3 years, they can take away your corporation status. And I know of an organization who had their corporation status taken. And it's those little things that's been messing up people. Another problem is we think we don't have to pay taxes because we're a nonprofit. We are exempt from certain taxes, not all taxes. So I know a lot of churches that lost their parking lots because they didn't pay their property taxes to the county. And they didn't file that they were an exempt organization. So they, so then their parking lot went through the auction. So
Wow.
and those little things, yeah.
Most definitely.
Right.
So it's a lot of people that don't know the differences between an LLC and a nonprofit, right? So some people ask me like, man, I got this business, so should it be a nonprofit or should it be an LLC? And I want to sell this, and I want to be a nonprofit. I'm like, well, I don't know if that's the route. You probably want to make an LLC if you want to sell something to make for-profit. Keyword, nonprofit, meaning that you can't make money. So just get into detail a little bit, for people who may want to know what is the difference between an LLC and a nonprofit and when you should do which one.
Okay. And and this is a very good question. I want everybody to understand this. Okay, I'm going to say this about being a nonprofit. You don't have to file a nonprofit to be nice. You can do nice things for society and not file a nonprofit organization. So I'm going to start with the nonprofit organization. A nonprofit organization is started in the United States. And I'm going to say something crazy, but it was basically set up so, white men can be nice, give of their wealth, and get a tax deduction, and basically it gives their wife something to do. So that's just my radical thing, but that's what I found with the nonprofit status. So what you're doing when you're starting a nonprofit is, first of all, you have to be incorporated by a state. So in Michigan, we file with the state of Michigan. That is saying that you're going to do something on behalf of society. You have to have and since you're incorporated, you have to have a board. The board is what runs the nonprofit, not the founder. It's the board. So when you file as a nonprofit corporation, you're saying that everything you're going to do is for a mission. That means that you do not get stock dividends. You don't get returns on your, like if you sell a product, all that has to go back into the mission of the nonprofit. So if you put any assets in the name of the nonprofit, it has to stay in the name of a nonprofit, we say, for perpetuity. So that means that if you buy a car under the name of the nonprofit, you can't sell it and say, I'm not going to be a nonprofit anymore. You have to sell the car, give the proceeds to another nonprofit, or you have to give the car to another nonprofit. So these are the things you have to think about when you're doing it. An LLC, when you start an LLC, you are saying that you're in business and you're incorporating yourself. To start a business like a for-profit, you don't have to do anything. You can say, hey, I'm in business, throw your sign up. But what happens is, if you don't have that LLC as protection, anything if somebody sues you as for your business, they can go and attach your personal assets. So what we do is set up an LLC so we can separate the business assets from our personal assets. So then if someone sues you, they can only sue you up to the assets of the business. It's a completely different entity. The thing with the LLC, different from other for-profit corporations, are you pay the taxes through your own personal taxes, which is Schedule C. And that's you want to have that conversation with an attorney or something about that. So that's what you need to think about when you're considering setting up a nonprofit. I always tell people, because you're doing this on behalf of society, you're going to have more rules. Society is going to be, you got to be more transparent, and you can't do what you want with the money. And you're subject to your board. Even if you are on the board, you're still subject to a board. There has been instances of somebody getting kicked off their own board of an organization they found. You
started a nonprofit. You have 3 other people that you appointed board members, and now you have this cause that you're trying to come about, whatever you're trying to put together, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And these 3 people oppose your whole mission and your whole thing, and not only do you not get that mission, but they can actually vote you out.
They can vote you out. Yeah.
Fire you from your own company, basically.
And it has happened. Save the Children is an example.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, well, yeah, see all of that stuff that people need to know.
Right.
I see. Now, I've heard different things about this. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but like I see a lot of people that start businesses and per se in their business name, or whether it be social media, whether it be their website or whatever, they put LLC behind their business name. Is it a problem with that? Because I've heard different things about that as far as just putting the what type of like business that it is after the business name of it. Is there any? Do you got any?
No, it's okay, but make sure don't say you're LLC and you haven't filed with the state. It's $50. I just did one today.
There, that part.
All you have to it's a 5-minute process. You can do, especially in Michigan. You can do it online. You go to Michigan.gov. It's an online service. If you're gonna say you're LLC, for God's sake,
Right, actually be an LLC.
actually be an LLC, and then go to the IRS.gov. And I want to say this too: when you get the EIN, that's your business social security number. You don't have to pay for that, so make sure you do it through the Internal Revenue Service, because there's companies out there, and they'll charge you $250. It's free. There's no reason why you should be doing that. So those are the things you need to know. And another thing I'm going to say, LLC, nonprofit status, if you're in business, I understand a lot of us, and Mark and I could talk, we bootstrapping. I get it. But don't bootstrap so much that you don't have insurances and proper equipment, and find out what you need to have. That's why a lot of people during COVID couldn't get money that was available, because they wouldn't take 2 seconds, get an EIN number, file the incorporation papers, and have a banking account. You have to have a separate account. And I'm not saying you're going to be in a full-blown business. I've been doing this off and on since 2007. But have that stuff so when grants do come, there's opportunities, or people want to donate to you, or they want to work business, you can legitimately operate your business. So, and take some time to invest in finding people that can help you with that stuff too.
Most definitely. And we have somebody that just asked a golden question in the comments. She said, I definitely need to talk to her. Does she give a class or something?
Amen. Yes, I do. For the nonprofit, I'm actually teaching at Schoolcraft College. It's through me, through our professional development. It's going to start September 26th. I'll post the information, but if you call me, reach me at answers@beyondexisting.com, I'll get you that information.
Okay, answers@beyondexisting.com. Let me
Right.
see if I can get that typed up on the screen for you. Now, LLCs and nonprofits. You just explained a little bit about the difference between the two. Some people are interested in having both, or have both, and may not know the benefits of having both. Now, are there benefits of having an LLC and a nonprofit that you run together, maybe as a partner, or just say if you have a LLC, say I have a lemonade stand and it's an LLC and it's registered, I have a EIN and all of that, and then I have a nonprofit for whatever causes that I want to serve in the community. How could these two entities benefit each other if work together?
They definitely can benefit one another. And I'm going to say that this is my disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, but I do have my PhD in nonprofit management. But there's a lot of times when you may have a for-profit. For instance, again, one of the laws of running a nonprofit is that the assets have to be in a nonprofit's name for perpetuity. That means forever. So if you have a building that you want to use for the nonprofit, most attorneys would advise you not to put that building in the nonprofit's name, especially if you want to pull it out someday and you want to use it for your own. So this is an instance where you may have your LLC and it owns the building and some assets, and then you can literally lease those assets to the nonprofit. You have to go to an attorney for this, because you want to make sure that both entities are separate. And it has to be on paper. You can't just be going back and forth, because you're going to get yourself in trouble, and then you're going to be looking at, IRS.
Right.
But you can set it up where, or like your car, You don't want to put the car. I used to work with daycare centers, and they will have they can have the nonprofit, the daycare, but the building and all the other assets is under the LLC. I had another organization that they had a school, but they had a nonprofit part of the school too. So sometimes you can have your for-profit fund your nonprofit, but I want to put that asterisk there. Having a nonprofit, you have to show that you're getting public support, so you can't just have that for-profit funding the whole thing. But you can give a good amount of money and show you still have a lot of money coming from other public supports too.
Right.
So this is something doable, and it's completely legal. But I'm just saying, make sure you go to the attorney to set it up.
You gotta have all your ducks in a row.
Right.
With it. Now, does it work exactly the same in the reverse of that, where maybe your nonprofit can fund your LLC?
I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I'm just,
Yeah,
I was
that's
just
right.
wondering. Okay, so yeah, again, these are things that people need to know. I mean,
Yeah.
because when you're educating people and learning about it, there's certain things that you can and can't do, and that's what we
Right.
what we need to know about
I
it.
always tell people with nonprofits, always remember you're doing this on behalf of society. Are you doing it on behalf of society? And here's one thing there are grants, but stop thinking grants. You're gonna have to get out there and raise some money. Yeah, then you have to think. I'm always saying, and if you take my class, you'll hear me. You're in business. You just happen to be in I call it mission-based organization. Everything you're doing is for that mission. And so grants, you think of I don't say gifts, I say investments. People are investing in your mission. And why would I invest in a new organization? So you're going to have to show some proof, just like if you had a for-profit business. I'm not going to hand you over a lot of money and you don't have proof of concept. So think of it the same way. And another thing is grants are very restricted funds. You receive grant money, you can only spend it on
What you got?
what that grant is for.
Yeah.
So we really don't care that so you got $1 million in grants, but you can't pay the utility bill. You can't take restricted funds for that unrestricted DTE. So I just want you to get used to, you're going to have to raise some money.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, what about other business structures? Because we talk about, or we hear about LLCs a lot. We hear about nonprofits a lot. But what are some of the other business structures that may be beneficial for people to have or to know about? And then we had another question in the comments that said, "Are you familiar with setting up trusts? And how they may be beneficial in the whole business structure?" Because I seen one video where it was something about explaining how you have a trust fund and then some kind of account, and then you got your LLCs under there. I forget what the middle one is, but
the LLC, the reason that comes up so much, because like I said, I just filled one out today, that once you go into business, it's just a tax structure to protect your personal assets. And then you have your other corporation, your S and your C corporations. I'm more of a nonprofit person, so that's beyond my expertise. But then that's when you're setting up a board. You have a corporation, you have a board, and they provide dividends and how you handle all of that. And corporations can pay their taxes directly. Like I said, the LLC, you're paying your taxes through your own personal taxes, filling out a Schedule C form. So I will find an attorney for that type of information. And then under the nonprofit, you have, there is one, it's called the L3C. It's a limited liability. Those social entrepreneurs where they're hybrid. And it's only recognized in 14 states. And one is the state of Michigan, where you can have low profit, but it has a mission base to it. So it gives you more leverage than you would have with a nonprofit. Now, the thing about the L3C, well, like I said, with the LLC, it costs you $50 to file. I think for the nonprofit corporation, it costs you $20 to file. If you want an L3C, you need to go to an attorney, and it's going to cost you a couple of, hundreds to file that, because it's new and it's only recognized in 14 states as of today. So that's something you can think about too. But for most of us who are in the community truthfully, because Mark, you and I were talking about everybody should start a business.
Everybody.
And I'm not saying you got to be some large entrepreneur, but the way that the work structure we are, stop worrying
Depending.
about tax. Yeah, stop depending on the system and stop worrying about paying taxes. If you pay taxes, and God know I know because I owe some taxes right now, that means you're making money. And there's ways for you to limit your tax liability. Get a tax professional to do it. Start getting serious though. And if you're out there selling cakes, or this is the thing that breaks my heart. When I know this woman is out there feeding the kids in the neighborhood, and she didn't take the time to get the nonprofit corporation status and the 501c3 so somebody can help them. Yeah.
It's like you're doing this out. You could help more people.
You can help more people,
as
and you
opposed
can
to
look
straining
legitimate.
yourself, right? And then it's a strain that I would imagine you putting on yourself by. I ain't gonna say imagine because I'm doing it right now, right? We're coming out of your pocket doing everything, as opposed to having the funding and the backing to do so, because you're doing something, like you said, for the community. You're doing
Right.
something for the people. So, yeah, that's all things that people need to know. I mean, like I said, we both had that conversation of, if I knew then what I know now,
Both of us.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really important that we that have the information, to a certain extent, you know what I mean? Because we are giving classes.
Right.
Just give people the information that they need to know to lead them in the right direction, so we won't be missing out on benefits and opportunities like we have out here for, so long with all of the with the business opportunities out here, the funding and the grants, loans, whatever it is. You know what I mean? We just been behind the loop and all of that. So it's really important that we have people out here to educate us on that.
Yeah, and my primary focus is, it's not everybody always, they run towards, I need the money, and I understand we all need the money. But what I really focus on with my business is making sure that you're set up to be compliant and will be sustainable. I want to keep you open. I want you to serve the community, and people always trying to find, whatever, they're trying to find. But if you just maintain it, society, the rules by the majority were not set up to hurt the majority. So my biggest thing is to make sure you understand the rules.
Most definitely.
Because, and that's another misnomer we have in nonprofit. You do not have to starve work. You can get paid working for a nonprofit, but you just can't take the funding. You have to set that up correctly too. There's salaries. I work for, and right now I'm actually working for a nonprofit.
That's another question I was going to ask you. Like, so can people actually get paid? Because like people work nonprofits as jobs. I've heard that. You know what I mean? So
I have a job.
That's my point, right? So how could you get paid as a nonprofit? Because I just had a guest on my show. One of the shows on the podcast on the network a few weeks ago, and out of I believe it was, I don't know if it was Hamtramck, but it's off of Woodward, I believe, somewhere, and she has a bar, right, that is a nonprofit, and they sell the liquor, and she was just explaining on how the loopholes or whatever it is that
She has a mission probably to
Yep.
keep that place going. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been working for nonprofits since forever. So I'm actually
you've
right
seen
now,
some of everything probably when it comes to nonprofit.
Nonprofits is a trip. It's a tripped out sector. But yeah, right now I work for, I run my own business, but I work for TechSoup.
Okay.
And we provide, and that's another thing. So TechSoup offers technology products at a discount or free to anybody who has their 501c3. So we have partnerships with Microsoft, Adobe, Cisco, anybody you can think of in technology. You can go into our catalog if you apply to TechSoup.org with a 501c3, get verified, and then our catalog is open to you. And what I do for them is I develop services. So we're going to have an email migration service for QuickBooks. So that's what I do. I legitimately work for a nonprofit, and yes, I eat well working for them. Now, for the smaller nonprofits, when you're on the board, you do not get paid as a board member, but there's no reason why you can't make yourself a staff member. And even if you're on the board and you're doing the work, because you're saying you're so sold out for this mission, if you're up there and you brought some stuff, you can legitimately get your costs covered. Like if you're driving your car, there's mileage.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say. So is it
Yeah.
like an hourly rate that you get paid for working a nonprofit, or is it a weekly? Like,
You can be salaried. Just set it up as employee. We still nonprofits, and I talk about that in my class series. I'm gonna keep pushing that.
Okay, most definitely.
But you're still under the same labor laws. But we talk about how you can legitimately set up because you're in the business. So I'm a salary employee. Right now, I'm on the clock right now, but I'm a salary employee. I get paid. Now, as a nonprofit board member, if I was a member of a board, somebody's board, I wouldn't get paid for being on the board. But if I do something for them that doesn't
compensated.
say I can't get compensated for it, you just have to have conflict of interest statements. I talk about that in class. And if you do it legitimately, there's no reason why you could go broke. I used to be on a national board, and they would fly me out every quarter to another city to sit in the board meeting. They paid my hotel and my expenses.
Traveling for free. Traveling
Basically,
for free.
yeah.
Basically. So you said the email address is answers@beyondexisting.com.
Com.
Okay, let me put that up there. .com. I'll put
Yeah,
that.
and the reasons I say answers because I provide answers, not just information.
Dig it. So, is this the only service that you provide with the with the Beyond Existence as far as helping people, I guess, develop their businesses, or you have all types of consultation services available? What else are you?
Oh, well, the main thing I've been doing is helping you launch. I do strategic planning. If you have a nonprofit and you're trying to prioritize what we're going to do for the next 3 to 5 years, I help you facilitate that process. If you have questions, I was just telling Mark, I'm setting up what I call the urban nonprofit. It's going to be an online community. So you may have questions.
Right.
And he and I tell you, when you're in business, no, you can't pick my brain for free anymore. So
It's called a consultation fee.
It's
That's
a consultation. So I will consult with you with anything that you're doing within your business and help you out with that. I also going to start teaching classes from that platform. We're going to have what we call mastermind group of a group of you. Because usually you think you're struggling by yourself, and we can work better as a group. So we call them mastermind groups. So I'm going to start developing mastermind groups, and we meet monthly. And we're going to talk about different topics on nonprofits. Because I really felt challenged, and it's my pull and my passion to make sure, particularly African American community leaders, that we know what we're doing and we're legal. And in compliant doing it. So we can actually serve our nonprofits. I'm going to give you one thing I learned, because we don't think we know how to run nonprofits, but the first recorded nonprofit ran by African Americans was started in 1693. We know how to run nonprofits. And we've been doing it even before we were considered human beings.
Wow.
So I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly.
So whether it be a nonprofit, an LLC, at the end of the day, make sure that you have all of the information that you need to make sure that you are legit, right? Because we have a lot of people, especially nowadays, right? Thanks to the pandemic, and it's a beautiful thing that we have so many small black businesses that are popping out and providing different products and services and pushing different causes out here. But we got to make sure that paperwork is right. Make sure that everything is in order.
Okay, yeah, and if you go on my website, www.beyondexisting.com, I give you will get a half-hour no-cost consultation. You can schedule it, because I've had situations where people want to start a nonprofit, and I actually talked them out of it. You didn't need it, Like I said, you could start a business and be nice.
I'm about to say, what would be a reason that you would tell them no, and they would be more so?
Well, I had one woman, she was running, because I work nationally, because I do everything virtually. Mm-hmm. She had an organization where she was tutoring folks, but she was having a clothes giveaway. So she thought she had to start a whole new nonprofit just to give out
just
clothes.
For that, right.
And I said, well, no, that's just a project. That's a
cause, right?
Yeah.
That's just another thing that you're doing within
with her business. So what she was doing with those clothes could just be a tax deduction because it's a donation. You don't have to start a whole full-blown nonprofit organization. You could just be nice and be for profit. you just did this project, this, giveaways, that stuff, that's just tax deductions. And you can, so there's no reason to start a nonprofit corporation.
Dig that.
Yeah.
Dig that.
So if you contact me or just click through there, I can talk to you for a half hour, or I can tell you what next steps are. And I am going to say, you're going to have to invest in yourself, Mark and I will tell you.
Hey, man, listen. She's been helping me for years now with just the structure, information, giving me information, and just helping me even with my new nonprofit that I'm launching now. Of course, she's a part of it. I couldn't let her. I couldn't, let her not be a part of it. But yeah, it's a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of information that we need, that you all need, especially, man. This starting off and this new entrepreneur journey, which a lot of us are, and whether it be on the nonprofit or the LLC side of things. There's just a lot of stuff that you need to know. So get with Sister Orletta, because she's giving y'all classes. She's giving you classes, and she's not charging you a heart valve for it. You know what I'm saying? Considering the value of the information that she's giving, you need to go ahead and support the sister. And let them know one more time the website, contact information, email, and everywhere they can get in contact with you to go ahead and get that info.
The first place is, the company is Beyond Existing Enterprises. My website is, www.beyondexisting.com.
Okay.
So anything you need is there. My telephone number is 313-829-0034. The best way to contact me too is answers@beyondexisting.com.
All right, that's the email you see on the screen.
Yeah, and I want to tell you beyond this, because like I said, I've worked for nonprofits most of my career. I do teach workforce development classes, so if I do know about the for-profit side. I teach stuff like emotional intelligence, personal branding, because that's what I did for a living for a long time. So,
as well as what was you on the news speaking about?
The payday lending.
The payday lending.
I was a community engagement person on WDIV Channel 4. I was talking about the perils of payday lending. So I know a lot about financial literacy, digital literacy. I do technical stuff. So I do anything. Yeah.
I have a show on Thursday morning from 11 to 12, the Revolutionary Black Wealth Builders podcast. I'm gonna have you come in and sit with Brother Emmett and talk with some things. I think between both of y'all, I think y'all have a lot of information that y'all can share and deliver to the people, because y'all,
it's time for us to
get on that
and get this together.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So, and again, we will have you at the Podathon event. You are official vendor for the event, so you'll be out there with your information, as well as, some products that you may want to have for sale out there for the people. So, and this won't be the last time that you see her face, like I said, on the platform, because I'm gonna be working with her on not only my nonprofit, but she'll be here just discussing different information that people need to know throughout the year, man. So I want to keep her coming back here, because she got a lot of information.
Right.
And I thank you, sister.
Thank you
for being a part of the event, supporting the platform as you do ever since I met you, and just being the sister that you are to give that information out to our people, because we need it. So once again, Beyond Existing Enterprises. Y'all go look up the website, email the sister if you got any questions. Subscribe to that class, because she is teaching information that we need to know. You know what I mean? So make sure that y'all get up on it. And we will see y'all for the next one. Good seeing you all that's in the comments. Everybody for the comments. Thanks for the questions and all of that. And we will be back at, I don't know what time we're going to be back, but we got another one coming back about, in about an hour or so. So just stay there, go get some popcorn. And we'll be right back. 7 Mile Radio, Business Spotlight Podcast, 7 Mile Radio, Mark D. Orletta Caldwell is in the building, Beyond Existing Enterprises. We out of here.
Warning. You are now tuned in to 7 Mile Radio.